From the studios of Foxboro Cable Access, located in the center of Foxborough, Massachusetts, you are watching Around Foxborough.
Good evening and welcome to Around Foxborough. My name is Chris Allen. I'm here tonight with Amy Rossman of Rodman for Kids. So let's jump right into, could you tell me about what Rodman for Kids is?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me and giving me an opportunity to talk about what we do.
Our pleasure.
So Rodman for Kids is a nonprofit organization that is focused on creating brighter futures for kids. And what that means to us is that we want to make sure all kids in Massachusetts have access to all the programs, the resources, the opportunities that they need to dream, grow, and succeed. And we approach that in a unique way. We kind of think of ourselves as a nonprofit for nonprofits. Okay. So we do a lot of work with other youth-focused nonprofit organizations in Massachusetts to ensure that they have the various supports and help that they need to raise funds to better serve their kids.
That's awesome. So I'm just going to jump in because I have a son who did the bike ride.
Yes.
Can you tell me how that started, how that came to be, and kind of what the cause was?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Rodman Ride for Kids, our signature event, turned 35 this year. Oh,
wow.
And it started way back in 1991. Don Rodman, who most people in Foxborough may have known or have heard of probably, he was approached by another nonprofit organization at the time. It was known as the RFK Children's Action Corps. And their CEO at the time, Ed Kelly, approached Don and asked him to sponsor a cycling event that they were doing for their organization. And he sponsored, I believe it was either $5,000 or $10,000 back then. And after participating in the ride for that year, he went back to Ed and he said, let me take this over. I can actually do this better than you're doing it, and bring in a few other organizations and make this bigger and more impactful. And that's sort of how Don operated. You know, he was always thinking a few steps ahead of everybody else and wasn't afraid to say it. So he took the ride over officially, and it became the Rodman Ride for Kids in 1991. Back then, it was just a 100-mile route. Wow. And in that first year, they had about 30 riders and raised about $30,000 for that one organization. Since then, over the past 35 years, we've raised over $165 million for more than 125 organizations. So his vision paid off, and you know we've kept it going even in his absence these last several years. But what the Ride for Kids was always about, and what our organization, Rodman for Kids, is about, again, is about raising funds to help other youth-focused charities. So he saw the opportunity to take this fantastic event that took a lot of work to put on and said, you know, if we're going to put all this effort in, let's bring in some other organizations too, and you can all raise money through this event. So from the very beginning, he was always underwriting the expenses for the event. Now we have funders who do that to make sure that for all of the nonprofits that are participating, they get to keep 100% of all the money they raise to further their cause.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you know, I mentioned it used to be just a 100-mile route. Over the years, we added 25 and 50-mile routes. And then back in 2019, actually eliminated the Century Ride, the 100-mile. And most recently, as you know, as you mentioned, we added a kids ride, which was in its second year this year. And it's been really exciting to see kids as young as 4 or 5 years old come out and do an obstacle course or a couple of a mile loop and start to feel what it is like to do a little something to give back to other kids in their community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What was the charity?
The original,
for this, or the original, and then the one for this year.
Yeah. So the original organization was the RFK Children's Action Corps. They're now known as the RFK Community Alliance. Okay. But now we have more than 40 organizations participating in any given year. Our charity partners. Some of the local ones that are right here in Foxborough are Comfy Kids and the Foxborough Regional Charter School. But we have organizations all throughout Massachusetts, particularly Greater Boston and Eastern Massachusetts. And the ride is really just one part of what we're doing for these organizations. So the ride is a fundraising vehicle that we provide. You know, we put on the event, we pay for every expense associated with it. So that covers, you know, the tents that go up and the tables and chairs and the food that needs to be purchased. But we also pay for the fundraising platform and the credit card fee. So truly, as I mentioned, they're keeping 100%. But in addition to that, we work with these organizations year-round and provide opportunities for them to collaborate with one another, to have free professional development, and just opportunities for them to share space, share ideas, and bounce things off one another so that really they can all rise together and get better at what they're doing together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So coming into it cold, I hadn't known anything about that.
That is a common misconception, that we are just a ride. So I'm always welcoming an opportunity to talk about what else we do. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now I assume no affiliation with the car delership?
So I don't want to say there's no affiliation.
Oh, okay.
We come from the same roots. But
okay.
So Don Rodman, and I can tell you a little bit about his story, our late founder.
Yeah, please.
He was a Depression era kid who, helped his single mom, he and his brother Jerry, who's also legend here in Foxborough, selling newspapers on the corner in Mattapan to help their mom make ends meet. And he actually dropped out of high school to join the Army. Never got a high school diploma, although in our office hangs his honorary high school diploma along with several honorary college diplomas. But he learned to be an auto mechanic while he was in the Army.
Okay.
And when he came home, he got a job doing that, and slowly but surely worked his way up into sales and sales manager, and finally got to the point he was ready to start his own dealership, which was right around the corner on the Rotary here. His first dealership, the little building on the corner there.
Yep.
And I'm forgetting who's there now. Forgive me.
Congdon?
Yes, it's exactly who it is. Yes. So he started his first dealership there. Eventually moved to Route 1. Little did he know what wonderful real estate that would be in the years to come.
Yeah.
Not a bad location across from Gillette Stadium. But he was a self-made businessman and was wildly successful, but never forgot where he came from and that he wouldn't have got where he did without help.
Wow.
And so it was really part of the fabric of who he was and how he operated, that he was always giving back. He sat on the boards of many, many organizations, and then again started Rodman for Kids in 1991. And he did a lot quietly as well, but really he is the driving force behind our organization. Obviously, it's still his name. It's Rodman for Kids. He passed away in 2019, but I feel very fortunate that I get to help carry that legacy forward. So to talk about the affiliation, myself and our team at Rodman for Kids have the fortunate opportunity to carry forward Don's philanthropic legacy, and then his son and his grandson, who are still running Rodman forward to this day, have the fortunate opportunity to carry forward his legacy there. So there's two groups of us.
That's cool.
Who are both doing that. Yeah.
That's really cool. How did you get involved?
Yeah, so I have been with the organization for a whopping 21 years now. Yes, I went to school to be an elementary ed teacher, and always knew I wanted to work with kids. I was the child of a single parent, and was fortunate to always have a village around me who really helped me to have everything I needed and then some. I was a lucky kid, and I think as I started thinking about my own career, I knew I wanted to do something to help kids, and teaching was just what I knew.
Yeah.
And as I sort of, got through towards the end of college, thought, oh, actually, this is not what I want to do at all. What am I going to do? And, that happens sometimes when you're 21 and sometimes when you're a lot older than that, right?
Yep.
So I took a job that summer as an admin at a local Big Brothers Big Sisters organization in Framingham. And it was meant to be a summer job. And I immediately fell in love with the work and, just the whole nonprofit community, and discovered a different way that I could give back and make a difference for kids. So fortunately for me, I had an executive director at the time who saw my potential before I did and really let me do way more work than I was qualified to do. Quite frankly, she let me just go all in. So I learned a lot, and I was there for about 4 years. And we were one of the charity partners who was a part of the Rodman Ride for Kids back in the day. So I had volunteered. I had unsuccessfully ridden 1 year, which is a whole other story. And when an opportunity opened up at Rodman for Kids to be a development events assistant way back in 2005, I jumped at the chance to go work for Mr. Rodman and be a part of this great organization. And here we are 21 years later. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, clearly love the work.
Yeah. And
just deeply appreciate that we get to make an impact on so many different organizations and so many kids.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Are there any other events that are, I know that the ride is the big one, but what other events do you guys do during the year?
Sure, yeah, we have a lot else that goes on during the year. Like I said, we tend to be known, especially here in Foxborough, because people see us out on the streets when the riders come out in May. We tend to be known for the ride, but we also have our Celebration for Kids, which is our other big event every year. That's our single biggest fundraiser. So the ride is a fundraiser for us, but also our 40 charity partners. Celebration for Kids is our gala in Boston that helps us raise money for everything we do year round. And then we also, most importantly, have our Theater for Kids program. So our two programs are the Charity Partner Program, which I told you about, and then our Theater for Kids program, which was inspired by Don's late wife, Marilyn. And of course, you'll be familiar with the Marilyn Rodman Performing Arts Center here in town, which is not ours, but, we work closely with them, and, their influence is, it's everywhere here in Foxborough. But our Theater for Kids program is really special. That came about back more than 20 years ago now, more than 25 years ago now. Don was famously, as a Boston guy, sending kids to Celtics games and Red Sox games, buying up groups of tickets and sending kids to things. And his wife, Marilyn, was, a tireless advocate for the arts and arts accessibility. She worked in the Canton School Committee for many years. She raised 5 sons and really wanted all kids to have access to the things that her family had access to. So famously, the line is that we've always heard is that she told Don, there's another world out there, Donnie, besides sports. And Don and Marilyn never did anything small. So instead of sending a few kids to a theater show, they bought out an entire theater and sent more than 2,000 kids to see a show for the first time, way back in 2001, and saw what an impact that really had on kids who otherwise never would have walked through those doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so in 2003, our Theater for Kids program was born, and we've sent more than 100,000 kids to the theater since then, and have really made it a program that's not just about a field trip or walking into a theater, seeing a show and leaving and never thinking about it again, but we involve a lot of activities and engagement opportunities before and after the show to make sure that kids really have a comprehensive experience and understand the context of what they're seeing, and also that it is a space they're welcome back afterwards.
That's cool.
So it's a really special program. And when it started, the idea that Don and Marilyn had was that, a lot of kids can't afford tickets to the theater, and let's make sure kids who can't afford tickets can go. But we're really looking at it now from a completely different lens, where limited access can mean that you can't afford the ticket, but it might mean because a kid has different abilities, or maybe they're on the autism spectrum and aren't comfortable in a typical theater. Maybe they're hard of hearing or vision impaired, or hearing impaired, and they need some assist. So we try to create an atmosphere where every single kid has whatever they need to make the experience work for them. And it's been really meaningful to see that we've been able to introduce the theater to so many kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I wish, so Foxborough elementary schools and middle school have a really strong theater program, and I wish that the high school carried on that, but I don't know if there's just not enough interest at the high school level, but we get high school kids coming back to the middle school to help with the productions.
Wow.
And it's really cool. All my guys are involved in it.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Yeah, I mean, music. I was a music kid myself, and a little bit of a theater kid. Music was more my thing, but I never played sports. But that was where I found my people, and I learned so much through those programs about discipline and teamwork. And I'm not saying it's a replacement for sports, but it is another world where there is so much to be learned. And beyond that, even, as kids continue to grow up, we want them to know that they can be patrons of the arts. So when we're introducing kids to the theater, it doesn't mean that you have to go seek a career or go to college to be a musician or an actor, or it's just about knowing this is a space where you belong. And you get to form your own opinion. Sometimes we get wonderful thank you notes from the kids, and every now and then we might get one from a kid who didn't love it. And we love that, because that's okay. You got to decide you didn't like it. It wasn't us saying you're not welcome here. The vast majority of them love it. But it's kind of neat to give kids that opportunity to say, hey, what do you think? Is this for you? And if it is, we're going to make sure you have the opportunity to keep coming back for more.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to get involved, how would they reach out to contact you or someone in the organization?
Sure. Well, there's a lot more information on our website, which is rodmanforkids.org. And, one of the easiest ways to get involved and learn a little bit more about us is to volunteer at one of our events. And the event where there's the most opportunity to do that, of course, is the Ride for Kids, which is held every May right here in Foxborough. But also I encourage people to look at our programs and see if they might want to support them financially. Right now, fundraising is harder than it's ever been for nonprofits. There are so many wonderful causes serving so many important needs, and we welcome anyone who's willing to support what we're doing and give back.
Awesome. So can you tell me about the next event you guys are doing?
Absolutely. The next big thing we have coming up is that we're sending more than 1,000 kids to see Wicked this fall at the Opera House in Boston. And I think this is probably the 6th or 7th time we brought kids to the show, but it's always a favorite. So we're really looking forward to bringing together such a big group of kids. And whenever we can fill the theater or half a theater with kids, the energy is really unlike anything else
awesome.
You could possibly experience. And then right on the heels of that is our Celebration for Kids Gala, which I mentioned in November at the Renaissance Hotel in Boston.
Awesome. So one more time for the people, the website?
Our website is rodmanforkids.org.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming in. My name is Chris Allen.
Amy Rossman.
And this has been Around Foxborough.
Thank you.